Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Apex Racing TV's coverage of the iRacing IMSA Sportscar Championship here at Road America for round number 5 of the iRacing IMSA Sportscar Championship here on Apex Racing TV. My name is Scott Newton. Alongside me tonight, as always, is Weihan Chan. Welcome, Weihan. Tonight we had a sign up of 76 cars for this entire split tonight, but with the 38 highest I rating drivers in the field tonight. What are your expectations for the race tonight?
Absolutely, Scott. Hi, everyone. Yeah, we have come to round five, I suppose, here at Road America. Yes, we have kind of the best of the drivers that we'd expect to run this kind of series. So I think we'll see quite a lot of intense competition. Understanding the fact that we have come to Road America today, which means that this is one of those places where you can do quite a lot of overtaking moves. Almost every corner is an overtaking opportunity. So we should have a good show ahead
Yeah,
of us
absolutely.
tonight.
Just quickly sorting some quick technical issues. I do apologise for that, as I am trying to bring the live picture. But other than that, we've still got just over 1 minute left of qualifying. We've got a fair representation of all classes here tonight, which is absolutely great to see. From the standard norm of having just the GTE and the GT3s, and with a couple of sprinkled in Daytona prototypes. So it's great to see that there's a well represented Daytona prototype field here today as well. But once I am able to bring you back to live pictures, which I should be able to do that right now, which thankfully I have been able to do. Sadly, this is not the AMF series. I've had some issues with that going on, but it looks as though that I have been. Oh, wow. Of all the things to go wrong, I have another technical issue as well, so I will be endeavouring to fix that momentarily. But Weihan, if you can go through the qualifying grid, if at all possible. I know that I got booted with about 40 seconds to go.
Starting from pole in the Corvette Daytona prototype class, Wayne Borg will begin from pole. Alexander Veltman in second, Chris Harvey, Michael Gray, Mick Grieve, and Tron Evelyn, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, respectively. First in the GTE class, Edu Morales with real-life DTM driver Daniel Juncadella, starting from second from the GTE class. Ramesh Azam, Jacob Vaideka, Peter Clavitter, Jason Freer, third, fourth, fifth, sixth in class, respectively. Marcin Emilski, Roman Fuchs, Sebastian Dietz, Yves the Brewer, Christian McCrelly. They round up the qualified drivers who will begin from the front up there in the GTE field. Clint Smith leads the GT3 starting field with Hendrik Cruz, Yuki Furia, Esteban Rodriguez, Gabriel Rizzo, Lars Martin Rubert, Jamal Gando, Jacques Swanepoel, Osmar Schultz, and Michael Kostil round up your GT3 field, as well as the drivers who have qualified the lap times tonight. Also, the drivers who've yet to set a qualifying lap time but will begin the race from behind in the field. Brad Newman in the Corvette Daytona prototype, Dominic Joliet in the GTE, as well as Jaden Ladik, Jesper Drelica, Alan Day, Adrian Licht, Terry Silvers, Joshua Smith, Dylan Kritz, Ryan Bell, and Leandro Castro. They round out your starting field of 38 drivers here at Road America tonight.
Absolutely. Just as I get into the server just in the nick of time, we are about to get underway with this pace lap, and we thankfully get the right graphics tonight. So, which is always handy. But yeah, this pace lap, with it being a very long pace lap, we'll be able to go through some quick weather details as well when I'm able to bring that up for you. It's currently 12:17 p.m. in the afternoon, simulated time, which is a bit of an unusual one, having it during the middle of the day, as we've had some early morning races and also some late afternoon races. So it's going to be a little bit tricky for the drivers there with a 28-degree ambient temperature, 37-degree track temperature with 44% humidity, and it looks as though that it is partly cloudy out there with an 18 km/h southwesterly wind. So it's going to be quite tricky out there for the drivers as well, especially in the prototypes as well, with that high wind going through the carousel, with that potential crosswind. If it's a headwind through there, they'll have a lot of grip out there, especially with all the GTEs as well, and GT3s going through there as well. So
Thanks, Scott. So we are now having a look at the relatively compact Daytona prototype class race starters here. Of course, with multi-class racing, each class would usually leave themselves some gap during the pace lap in order not to kind of cross paths with each other during the race start. So we have a look at the GTE class field, which would be the largest one of the three packs. And of course, this GTE pack is being led by Edu Fernandez Morales and Daniel Juncadella. The GT3 field currently posted off just within the class, Hendrik Cruz and Yuki Furuya over there along the side. So of course, this being Road America, pace lap is going to be longer than usual, which would also mean that during the race, because this being a long track, the fuel burn will be quite high. We would expect perhaps a pit window to be open just perhaps later on in the race, maybe a couple of minutes towards the middle of the race, perhaps minute 20 or somewhere around
yeah,
there.
there's a couple of drivers that I see that have not taken to the start. One of them being Ryan Bell in his Mercedes, but one notable mention is Clint Smith not able to take the start. He was looking very, very strong, potentially with the pole position, but sadly, I think he had the same connection issues that I had. Same with Brad Newman as well. Not able to take the start, so we'll see whether Smith is able to get back into the race. But coming up to Canada Corner, we're waiting pretty much for the safety car to come in, and certainly an unusual sight to see the 7 Daytona prototypes on the field that we have today, but certainly hugely thankful for those drivers to see that some of those names will be partaking in the Majors 2.4 at Daytona this week, so potentially some of those names that I see I will be competing against this weekend. But coming around the final corner now, we'll be waiting for the pace car to come in and we'll be able to get underway for 45 minutes of the round number 5 of the IMSA Sportscar Championship. Pace car comes in. And the field is under control of Wayne Beck, and he gets the green flag, and he gets a great jump over Alexander Veldman. Chris Harvey in 3rd, Malcolm Gray 4th. Mick Graves struggling a little bit, but sits in 5th position, and looks to say that they're all going to go single file into turn 1. Edu Fernandez Morales gets a great jump on Daniel Juncadella into turn 1, and they're just going side by side in the middle to the back of the GTE field, and they're going to go two wide, number 20 and 22 car of Dienst and Brewer. And in the GT3 field, if I can bring that up quickly, Hendrik Cruz over Yuki Furuya. In the 1st and 2nd position, Esteban Rodriguez sits in the 3rd position. It looks as though that everyone's had a very, very clean start. See that there is one straggler behind, and to see that both Ryan Bell and Clint Smith have joined the server, so they are on their pace laps right now, I think, or they've just come out of the pit lane. So great to see that everyone is into the race despite the technical issues.
Wayne Borg, your race leader, at as it stands at lap 1 with that interesting looking. Of course, always good to see a good classic Mazda 787 livery. He is quite a distance ahead from everyone else. His gap is ahead by 1.18 seconds, which kind of gives him quite a good advantage as they make their way through this stretch. And they begin breaking into this prime action zone, one of my favorite corners here for drivers to make a move here, the Canada corner. And they come along these series of final corners to complete the first lap
Yeah,
here at Road
certainly
America.
bit of a huge error for Veldman going over the grass at the exit of the kink. Certainly not helping his cause, as the gap is already out to 1.3 seconds. But crucially, he's got a 1.8 second gap over Harvey. And I see that Silvers and Grieve going side by side into turn 1 to say that Silvers is going to get the job done. And a great overtaking move. Did it even before the entry to turn 1. Robes is trying to fend off Widerka, the Ford GT driver, as well. See that BMW 123 at the moment in GTE. Ford hanging on there very, very strongly in 4th position. Good to see that Ford has got a representation here today as well. Normally don't see that as well. Simraces Asia competitor as well. Pleaded Kalawita in the race as well. Familiar name on Apex Racing TV. In the 6th position at the moment.
It does seem like we have quite an incident that just happened, judging from that impact sound. I think a collision might have happened somewhere down in the...
Yeah, I did see a couple of positions change for Jaden Laddick and Linux Drolle. And I think Alan Day was in that action as well. As I see that the Team Ubit driver working his BMW around the carousel. It's kind of getting shoved out of the way into turn 6. Through the carousel he goes. Got that Ferrari of Christian Maccarelli all over the back of him.
As you ride on the gearbox camera of Alan Day, having a look at Maccarelli having a good time taking in all the slipstream as he plots for a move as they make their way into Canada corner. Move up to P14 by Christian Maccarelli, and even up to 13 as well, as it does look like Laddick has dropped a couple of positions down there. So this moves Alan Day up to 14th and Maccarelli up to 13th.
Yeah, an unfortunate mistake there from Laddick in the Canada corner Bill Mitchell Bend area, but certainly with 41 minutes to go, there'll be certainly a lot of time to make up as Julica and Drolet into turn 1. Going side by side with the Porsche and the Ferrari. The Porsche getting the better of the Ferrari. Julica into the slipstream of Brewer. Benelux driver going to have to fend off the Porsche. Even though that a circuit like Road America has quite a lot of fast straights, this is typically a high downforce track, even though that you'd think that with the long straights you'd take the low downforce setup, but BMW is certainly able to hold off the Porsche of Julica, doing a fine job at the moment.
Very much so indeed. Julica in 10th at the moment, and he leads 11th and 12th, Dietz and Drolet. Of course, this battle pack has a sizable gap between the next car up in 9th. Of course, they are what would appear to be 2 seconds away from the next car ahead, which would appear to be Roman Fuchs up in P8.
Turning our attentions to...
Let's move back to the...
Yes, it's going to turn our attention to the leader of GTE's pack at the moment. Sorry, Wayhan. Battle for first through 4th. Morales about to coming across the line to start lap number 4. See what his lap times is this time around. 2-minute 1.0. Only half a tenth faster than Junkadella. Azam actually quicker than the pair in front of him, and with Durka it's just slightly slower. It's still maintaining pace relative to the front two. So Ramez Azam certainly trying to get the hammer down for his IMSA Esports BMW.
Morales having a good time leading the GT field, as he has quite a lot of pressure from the drivers behind him. So this would appear to size up as a four-way battle pack for the race lead. Junkadella, Azam, and Videlka.
See that
They come to this section of sorry, Scott. Yeah, they come to this section of the circuit where this is one place where overtaking does get a little bit difficult. You know, with the hurry downs, and also this braking section. This is perhaps more importantly important for them to set themselves up for this carousel that they're taking.
yeah, certainly with the long banked right-hander corner, certainly very, very punishing on the left side tyres, both front and rear, both navigating the kink safely. All four of the drivers within 1.5 seconds of each other. This top 4 battle. Whilst we're looking at this battle, we see that Silvers is off the track. That's going to allow Mick Grieve to come back into the fray as well, and he'll get the jump on Silvers. And just a bit of an update on our overall lead at the moment. He's got a 6.5 second lead over Veldman at the moment, so putting in some stunning pace at the moment. 57.2 last lap for Wayne Burke, and a 59.3 for Veldman. Burke pretty much the only one to even break the 58s at this time, well, at least consecutively. So putting in some stunning pace there for the One Performance driver.
Now we have a look at the Ford GT of Peter Clouter again. He sits 7th in class, and he is going to go for a move up for P6, which is Emilski right in front of him. Roman Fuchs is behind him over 8th in class, that BMW right at the background there. And as they come down this marine sweep, this will be also one of the overtaking zones should the pack be more compact together, because that's where, you know, braking maneuvers would take place. As they enter the second sector of this circuit, this is where you would usually go single file in and set yourself up for the overtaking opportunities to come. As we ride on board Peter, and we observe perhaps also, you know, his unique choice of car, the Ford GT, because, you know, the Ford isn't exactly one of those cars that is as popular with drivers. Although if you're able to exploit it, you will get the most performance out of it. Taking the carousel perfectly over there as he lives to make it through this kink over here. Brilliant driving by Peter.
Yeah, just try to close up on Emilski. BMW driver ahead. The gap at the moment is it's hovering around about half a second at the moment. Clouter last time around was just over a tenth quicker. We'll see what the gap is this time around. And it will extend only by half a tenth, so 2-minute 1.9 for Emilski, and then Clouter on a 2:01.95.
Joshua Smith 7th in class, as he comes under quite a lot of pressure from Clint Smith over in 8th. Of course, we all know Clint to be quite a good driver, a stellar driver in the GT space, and he makes a move for P7 ahead of
Absolutely
Joshua.
great move and pretty much textbook overtake into turn 1 from Clint Smith, trying to work his way back up to the front of the GT3 field after his technical issues at the start. Just looking at the gap at the moment between Smith and our GT3 leader at the moment, and that is sitting at 8.3 seconds between Smith and Hendrick Cruz in the lead at the moment. Smith only a couple of tenths slower last time around, but that is due to the fact that he is in traffic, and we may have lost Clint Smith again. Sadly, he's sadly falling down the timing screen, but certainly hope that he comes back as right on cue. He jumps back in the frame, so some technical issues going on there for Clint Smith. Certainly going to be disconcerting for Joshua Smith trying to make an overtake, as being a driver having that past experience before on European service from an Australian best connection as well, so you can certainly see how challenging it was going to be for Joshua Smith to make the overtake.
Of course, Clint began the race, or rather, he wasn't able to start the race from the grid, so a stellar performance by him to kind of clamber back his positions. But then again, you know what, it does so happen that on iRacing, you know, connection issues do come when you least expect them. And it would appear that Clint has unfortunately lost connection to the server, and he
Well,
would
it's
have
certainly unfortunate. Certainly was actually looking forward to seeing how he was going to be able to recover from his technical issues, but sadly that has not come to fruition as Smith is into the pit lane.
Morales still leading the GT field ahead of Junker Della over in second, and Rames Azam still holds on to third. Of course, I think not exactly that much of a position change over at the GTE side of things. Certainly at this part of the at this sharper end of the GT field, it does seem that the positions have remained constant throughout the start of
Yeah,
the race.
absolutely. Just got the positions gained on the screen right now, and the biggest mover in the Daytona prototype field is Overland and Silvers, up one position each. And then in the GTE field, it is Jesper Jellica on screen right now in his Hello Kitty Porsche for Team Grippers. And then in the GT3 field, as far as I can see, it's Joshua Smith up 4 positions in terms of the drivers that have gained the most positions from the start. We are coming up to 1/3 distance elapsed in this race, coming up to 14 minutes and 45 seconds elapsed. We've got Brewer and was that McCrelly and Dance into turn 1. It looks as though that Brewer was able to defend the overtake from McCrelly into turn 1, but both of the Ferraris behind him are going to have a huge tow from that BMW.
Here they come for a potential overtaking move as they go down the moraine sweep. Along the outside goes McCrelly as he edges out in braking into the entry of the corner. But, you know, with the advantage of the line, the BMW of Brewer still gets the advantage as they exit the moraine sweep. He still leads Dientz and McCrelly, and he sits in 11th in class.
Yeah, absolutely. So also got Gabriel Rizzo trying to make the overtake on, was that Jamal Gandour into turn number 5, and it was a great move up into turn number 3. Just had the overlap and was able to dive down the inside. That Audi proving to be very, very quick today. as we've got Audi currently in the lead, Mercedes 2-3.
It would appear, Scott, that the GT3 class is dominated by solely the Mercedes. With only 3 Audis out of the whole 14 GT3 entries.
Yeah, certainly with I think there's with the recent BOP that has happened. I think it has tend to favour the Mercedes, but certainly great to see that Audi is represented as well.
As Gabriela Rizzo leads Gandour and Rubert into the final corners, they begin yet another lap here at Road America. Of course, Rizzo is currently in P4, one position up from where he started, whilst Jamal Gandour would have jumped 2 positions. So they now come top speed through the Road America stretch, with Gandour not exactly close enough for a full slipstream to come into effect as they brake to make their way down into turn 1.
Yeah, I just noticed that while we were looking at this battle, Jesper Julica was able to get the overtake done on Peter Klauwitter. So on replay right now, so up into turn 1 they go, and Julica got the overlap, and Klauwitter sensibly yielding that position. Didn't want to cost either the driver too much time, as they're going to be starting to think about the pit stop strategy as we're coming up to the field window, with Road America being one of the higher fuel burn circuits. We might see them in a little bit earlier than usual, as Ryan Bell is out of the race as far as I can see. He's recently retired as well, so he made it to what looks to be turn 1. I think that might be his pit stop. I see that he is still trundling down the lane as well from the timing screen, so my apologies for that.
Then again, over here in Road America, because of the field burn, it would mean that the pit window would be somewhat smaller than if it would be at other tracks. But then again, I think the drivers would still be able to take advantage of any undercut if they decide to make the pit stop earlier.
Yeah, certainly. We are just going to give you a quick rundown of our field as it stands at the moment. We've still got Wayne Burke currently leading by 14.7 seconds over Alexander Veldman in second. Pretty much the length of the back straight is the distance between first and second overall. Chris Harvey for the 8.7 seconds back from Veldman in third. Michael Gray in fourth, and Trond Overland in the 5th position in Daytona prototype class. Edu Fernandez Morales in the 1st position in GTE. Daniel Juncadella not too far behind him, only 1.0 seconds behind the GTE leader, and Ramez Azam got Jakob Wadzurka all over the back of him pretty much within half a second of this battle.
So we return to live pictures, and we have a look at Azam in the BMW going through Canada corner as he leads Videka through this section. Still no real change in position here in the top 4 of the GTE field. And then again, Azam sits approximately 1.7 seconds behind the second place driver Daniel
See that
Juncadella.
the first driver to blink is Alexander Veldman. Into the pit lane he goes. It's a little bit earlier than we would have expected, but still within the pit window, as he is into the pit box as we speak. I think he might be changing tyres as well by the look of that. 23.9 second stop as he's about to merge into traffic. This is the battle for 8th and 9th position in the GTE field, so battle of Lennox Drolet and Jackson Freer Jackson Freer was up a little bit further in the standings earlier in the race, but must have had a an excursion somewhere that's made him fall down the circuit, as Veldman getting past that Porsche of Drolet.
Then of course he would have to make to kind of clamber his way out of the GT field, which is going to take quite a lot of effort from Velman's part, as there are still 7 GT cars ahead of him that he has to retake his position. We have a look at this evergreen battle that's been going on all race long, in fact, between Viderka and Azar. We ride on board the Ford GT of Viderka as he comes breaking into Canada corner out of this backstretch. So, over this course of the few corners, we would like to see if Viderka is able to close the gap between himself and us. They break for the final corner, and this is one of those corners where you have to nail your exit perfectly in order to get the best advantage and launch down the Road America straight.
Yeah, just looking in the YouTube chat as well with regards to Clint Smith. Unfortunately, he's had technical issues that put him out of the race, so certainly unfortunate for the Evolution Sim Sport driver. He's looking fairly solid for certainly a top 5 result, but sadly with that connection issue he's been experiencing all day today. Certainly unfortunate, but certainly looking forward to him fighting back next week at round number 6 of the IMSA Sportscar Championship. And obviously that Jadu Juncadella has taken the lead. See if we can quickly get a replay on that one.
Would appear that there might have been an incident that happened to Morales, which led to him losing the lead. So here we have the replay as they make their way down this stretch into Moraine Sweep, breaking in for the corner entry. Yes, and there you go, a kind of oversteer upon braking as done by Morales, which unfortunately unsettled his car as he made it mid-corner, which then ceded the race lead as well as second and third drivers, Azam and Vidica, which means that Morales has dropped to P4.
Yeah, just got the downshift all wrong, and unfortunately he's sent the rear end around trying to regain his track position, and he will find himself in the 4th position. Luckily he had a huge gap in between himself and Jesper Julica, who is up 9 positions, trying to lose as little time as Alexander Veldman is up into the 9th position overall at this time. So we've already passed halfway, and looking to see where our overall leader is at the moment. Wayne Burke currently sitting first on his 13th lap. Currently got a 33.5 second lead over Michael Gray. Now looking where Veldman is at this moment, he is coming through turn 2, but waiting obviously for the pit stop phase to cycle through. 25th minute elapsing right now. A couple of other close battles that we'll be looking through the field at the moment. We've got Jackson Freer and Lennox Drolet still 0.8 of a second apart, as Wayne Burke is into the pit lane. So we'll have a look to see where Veldman is at this time, as he's coming through some GT3 traffic at the moment. Certainly don't want to go too wide through there. That's going to cost him a boatload of time, and the number 8 car of Edu Fernandez Morales was able to get through that traffic as well. See, there's quite a lot of GT3 traffic in as well. Andrew Cruz, Esteban Rodriguez, Jack Swainpole and Joshua Smith into the pit lane. See, Wayne Burke has hit his pits box just as I say that.
So our So, Scott, I think it would be fair to note that the performance differences between the three classes in the IMSA series are not exactly as jarring if you compare it to the Le Mans series when you have the ultra fast LMP1 cars, which would lap every other car in just a matter of a few laps, whereas over here the DP still maintains remains within the same, I guess, the same lap count as the rest of the GT cars. As my lifetime is giving me a bit of funny issues, we have a look at Alexander Veltman, who would seem to have done his pit stop probably, and he is down to fifth in class.
Yeah, my time is going to show him as fourth. It's appearing as though he's having some connection issues similar to
Fifth.
Smith, but with that, Wayne Burke, it looks as though he did not take tyres in that stop, given the fact that Burke had an 11.2 second stop, comparing that to Veldman of a 23.8. Also, the fact that that Veldman was quite heavily hindered in that traffic before, so the overcut certainly worked for Burke.
So Burke likely coming up against the lap traffic as they. Well, I'm not sure if this is going to be a safe move, but they nearly go too wide into this kick. Not exactly something where you want to be in a situation as such. Having dipped the grass a little bit along the exit, he now prepares for his entry into Canada corner, braking hard for this entry, and he makes his way around this corner, preparing himself for the series of final corners. Wayne Borg in second, and he is quite a distance between a race and class overall class leader Michael Gray.
Yeah, it's only 1.8 seconds at the moment, and it's Gray into the pit lane, so Burke able to regain the lead. I think pretty much led all but one lap during the obviously during the pit stop phase at this time. So as Wayne Burke shuffles down the timing screen for now, having a look at Juncadella at the moment, he's got a 2.8 second gap over Ramez Razan, and then a further 3.1 seconds to Jakob Roderka.
So it would appear that most cars in the GT3 field have already made their moves into the pits, whereas cars in the GTE field have, I guess, half of them have yet to make their pit entrance. I think the Daytona prototype class also, some of them having made their pits, and some of them yet to have done so. So I think some drivers would be able to leverage the undercut, any potential undercut that they may have, even though if it's lesser compared to at other places.
Yeah, apologies, our timing screen's going all over the place at the moment, as it looks as though potentially I got disconnected from the server again. So apologies for the technical issues as I've been experiencing. I will endeavour to get those back up as soon as I can.
I've been able to catch a glimpse of a Ford GT that has gone around over at the Marine Sweep. Of course, we do not have pictures of that. And I'm just staring at the scenic camera, looking at looking at different cars taking different parts of the.
Yeah, whilst we're trying to get back live pictures again, it seems as though that sadly I'm having the same amount of issues as some of the fellow drivers in the server. It should be within momentarily. I'll be able to get this picture back up.
Whilst we're getting the pictures back up, we looking at the live timing. It would appear that all top 9 drivers of the GT class have simultaneously made the move into the pits. So I think it might have been a synchronized planning by the drivers, but of course all of them having gone into the pits for their field stop. right happening right now. That would leave the drivers of Sebastian Dienst, Marcelli, and Alan Day out in the running. Of course, the first of the drivers make it out of the pits. Ramesh Azam, your new class leader, he leads the GT class with Jacob Videka in second in the GT class, having just left the pits as well. My live timing has just frozen, and I'm just gonna wait for it to momentarily recover itself. But as we're just doing that, here we look at I would believe it is Hendrik Cruz making his
Yeah,
way down
absolutely.
the
We've just got
backstretch.
pictures back up now, so apologies once again for the technical issues as I've been experiencing today. But turning back to the GT3 category, we haven't really covered this much as Hendrik Cruz has got a 3.8 second gap over Yuki Furuya, and then Esteban Rodriguez 2.8 seconds back from Furuya. Joshua Smith having a solid day as well, up 7 positions, so he's the highest mover in terms of the GT3 field. Jasper Julica in 3rd position at the moment. Don't think he has come through the pit lane yet, so Azam, Durka, and Drilica not having taken to the pit lane just yet, as you've got the 29 car of Terry Silvers in the background.
Silver's 7th in class, and I think he would need a bit of effort in order to return to where the rest of his class is. Because he is quite a gap behind the rest of his guys over at the top of the DP class.
Yeah, certainly. We've just got McGreeve on screen at the moment, as that position is not very reflective of where he actually is. I think he's sitting in 6th at the moment in class, as my timing screen is going all over the place at the moment, sadly. Also, Trond Overland and Chris Harvey battle for 4th and 5th in class at this time. Only 1/8 of a second separated between these two.
We ride on board Chris Harvey as he takes the carousel here. He sits in P5 and Tron Eveland in P4. The gap between them is, it would appear that my live timing has paused again, which has prevented me from identifying what that
Yes, and
gap
it seems as
is.
though that I've had another technical issue again. So I do apologise for the quality of this broadcast, but sadly that is out of my control. I will begin to resolve that once again.
Whilst Scott is remedying the live timing, I think if we have a look at the standings as they stand now, Wayne Borg still leads the field with Alexander Veldman second in the Daytona prototype class. Michael Gray and Sean Affleck, Chris Harvey, they take third, fourth, and fifth at the moment. Mick Grieve is sixth. And over in the GTE class, the top 3 drivers at the moment would be Ramesh Azam, Jacob Wideka, and uh, Morales. Would appear that previous leader Daniel Joncadella has dropped all the way down to 11th in the GTE class. Over in the GT3 side of things, Hendrik Cruz, Yuki Furuya, and Esteban Rodriguez. These guys take first, second, and third as they stand over at the GT3 field.
having just under 10 minutes to go of the race, certainly looking very, very positive for Wayne Burke, currently in the lead of the the Daytona prototype class as well. Last count I saw that he was 30.8 seconds ahead. That gap is probably a little bit larger than uh, when we last saw that. As it appears as though I have managed to get back into the server and currently on Michael Gray, who is 8.8 seconds behind Alexander Veldman at the moment in the third position. Wayne Burke currently in the first position, about about 37 seconds, or sorry, 36 seconds ahead of Alex Veldman. So if we can cycle back through to the GTEs at the moment. So that Ramez Azam still going on in the what looks to be the first position in class. One of only between 2 and 4 people not to have taken to the pit lane. So certainly looking very, very strong for the IMSA Sports BMW of Azam.
Flashing lights there, apparently a message intended for the GT3 car indicating his presence. He makes his move ahead of that GT3 back marker and has a safe entry into Marine Soup. Just saying that he may have gone a little bit wide along the exit of Marine, and he makes his way up this blind left-hander. Of course, Ramesh Azam began third in class but managed to clamber through second and now to the lead of the class. Because the previous leaders Daniel Juncadella and Edu Morales, they have had quite a good show tonight, but I think somewhere along the line they would have faced certain racing issues, and this means that Morales is currently in third and Juncadella has gone down to 11th.
So they were unable to bring that action, but certainly Juncadella has been very, very strong over the weeks that we've covered this season's iRacing IMSA Sportscar Championship. I think he was the winner of the first round at Interlagos, so it certainly has the strength and the caliber. I think he, if I'm not mistaken, he's a real-life DTM driver in Germany. So it's great to see that real-life drivers coming across to the sim racing world.
In saying that, we believe that Azam is also a racing driver who is based in Canada. I believe racing some GT cars over in North America. I would have to fact check myself later on as after we finish the broadcast. But of course, always good to have racing drivers gracing the sim racing scene here on iRacing.
Yeah, certainly we see that Alan Day and Jesper Julica in the battle for 12th and 13th position, as Alan Day just running a little bit wide there at Bill Mitchell Bend. So certainly an unfortunate mistake for him. Series regular in the iRacing IMSA Sportscar Championship. We've seen him in all 3 classes, both in the prototype, I think for the first season that he competed in, and then the last couple of seasons in the GT3. So good to see that he's made the step up into the GTEs, and sadly it's not a position that he would have liked to have been in today, but certainly an experience to take into the next races should he stay in the GTE class.
As I stand corrected, Azam is based out of the United Arab Emirates, the same place that IMSA esports team and Peter Clouter are based in. Of course, these are the stalwarts, the hot shots of sim racing in the Middle East, having led so many initiatives to develop sim racing in that part of the world. As we're just saying that, Yuval de Brewer in the BMW leading Macrelli across this carousel, and on the approach to the kink.
Just going on board to see what 3.5 tenths of a second looks like, closing up for that Ferrari into Canada corner. Actually, that gap extending to 4 tenths of a second. You see that the overall leader, Wayne Burke, is in the back of the picture, trying to put a lap on the 9th and 10th GTE class drivers as he pulls out of the slipstream and goes up into and past the 8th and the 7th and the 9th and 10th drivers, and McCrelly looking to the outside but not able to get the job done. Around the outside at turn 1, trying to get the cutback, but Brewer gets defensive and certainly compromises line through turn 2. That would allow McCrelly a chance to go down the inside, but Brewer defending very, very hard into turn number 3. Kind of straight line those kinks on that back straight there. Ferrari trying to go around the outside, getting his line compromised, and BMW holding on into the 9th place.
Of course, a great battle between McCrelly and Brewer over the first and second sectors of the trail. Of course, this late into the race is always good to see these kind of battles take place. A little bit loose along the rear end goes the Ferrari of McCrelly as they come into the carousel. The gap between McCrelly and Brewer stands. I'm not able to tell what the timing difference is as my live timing is giving me some issues. They complete the carousel and they come into the kink here. Of course, the gap between them is ever so increasing, but then again, they would be able to take advantage of each other's slipstream as they enter this part and onto hard braking into the Canada corner.
Yeah, certainly my issues are the same for you as we are turning our attention to the GT3 field, as we've got Yuki Furuya on screen at the moment. Gap between himself and Hendrik Cruz up to 4 seconds. So the battle for 1 and 2 in the GT3 class, hovering around 3.9 to 4 seconds at this time. As it seems as though, no, that my live picture has disconnected itself once again. So I apologise once again, as we're into the final lap pretty much. I will see if I can quickly get back into the server one last time. But if you are able to call where Wayne Burke is, Wayhan, in case he does cross the line before I do manage to get to it.
Absolutely, I'm still trying to reach Wayne Burke as my cameras are still under control of this live timing system. Let me just try to obtain his position. Wayne Burke is still in the race lead, Alexander Veltman second, and Michael Gray in third. So we would expect this to remain throughout from now till.
Yeah, it seems to be a technical issue between the Australian link and the one of the US server farms, which is certainly unfortunate for this race, but we'll certainly be looking to rectify that for the next race of the iRacing IMSA Sportscar Championship. But yeah, currently trying to load in for the final lap of the race. We had 44 minutes elapsed already, so we were potentially already on the final lap.
Would appear that Weinberg might have just taken a race victory. Of course, we've not been able to see that due to the absence of live pictures. Weinberg, potential race winner here at Road America with Alexander Feldman coming home second in class in the Daytona prototype. Michael Gray would likely come with the. All right, there we are. Live pictures again. Alexander Feldman. Oh, it is so unfortunate that it would appear that many more drivers have disconnected or rather have lost connection. So Weinberg held the race lead, but unfortunately he's not around to take the checker flag, and that might just hand the race lead over to Alexander Feldman.
Yeah, we'll certainly try and get confirmation of that once all the drivers have taken to the checkered flag. But provisionally, Alex Veltman takes the win as trying to cycle through. We've got Ramaz Azam and Jakub Wadurka through the final corner. Gap is at 3/10 of a second. The BMW not getting the best of exits from the final corner, but I think he'll be able to hold on as the Ford is trying to go side by side, and it's going to be a photo finish, and I think the BMW gets it. Azam takes the GTE win for round number 5 of the iRacing IMSA Sportscar Championship. Very, very close battle. He says Edwin Morales takes the 3rd position, Peter Klauwetter takes 4th, and Emilski taking the 5th position. And I think that the GT3 class has already cycled through, with Hendrik Cruz taking the win and Yuki Furuya in the 2nd position, Esteban Rodriguez in the 3rd position. So just waiting for Osmar Schultz to round the final corner, and it looks as though that he will take to the pit lane, not wanting to do the final lap. So it looks as though that once he crosses the finish line, we'll be able to bring you the final race results here for the 5th round of the iRacing IMSA Sportscar Championship.
I do apologize. I stand corrected. It would appear that Weinberg has in fact taken the race win here at round 5 over at Road America here at the IMSA Sportscar Championship. He wins overall, and Alexander Veltman comes home in 2nd. Michael Gray, Chris Harvey come home 3rd and 4th overall, as well as in the DP class. Sean Eveland and Terry Silvers come home in 5th and 6th. Moving on to the GTE finishers, of course, Rames Azar winning the GTE class with Jacob Vedeka. Of course, both drivers having had almost a photo finish there with just what would appear to be a couple of tenths separating their finishing positions. Edu Fernandez Morales started from the class pole, but came home 3rd in class. Peter Klauter in 4th. Marcin Emielski comes home 4th. Jackson Freer and Sebastian Dietz take 5th and 6th in class. Dominic Drolet in 7th. Yves De Brewer in 8th in class. I do apologize. De Brewer takes 9th in class. Christian Macrelli comes home 10th. Daniel Joncadella, unfortunate end to his dominance of the class earlier on. He comes home 11th in class. Jasper Delica and Alan Day round up your finishers here in the GTE class with 12th and 13th. Andrew Cruz wins the GT3 class with Yuki Furuya. Of course, a great show by both drivers here tonight. Yuki takes 2nd in class. Esteban Rodriguez and Joshua Smith finish 3rd and 4th. Jacques Schwanepel and Osmar Schultz take 5th and 6th. Leandro Castro, Michael Kostiv take 7th and 8th. Would appear that straggling the Daytona prototype class, Mick Grieve, he finishes 7th in class, with Ryan Bell and Dylan Kritz likely finishing 9th and 10th in the GT3 class. Lars Martin Rubert and Mohamed Gandor take 11th and 12th in the GT3 class. Of course, another GTE car coming home at that position will be Roman Fuchs, with Gabriel Rizzo and Clint Smith unfortunately rounding up your GT3 field, as well as Jaden Laddick, Adrian Lichty, and Brett Newman. They round up your race participants of 38 tonight. And as you just said, that would appear that my live timing has crashed itself.
Yeah,
What a
absolutely.
race.
Certainly with the technical issues that we've had, we've tried to make the best of the broadcast here today. We certainly had some cracking racing going on, but sadly with the technical issues, we weren't able to provide the best coverage that we could today. So certainly apologies go out to everyone tuning into the live stream and to all of the viewers tuning in on the VOD uh, post race. But certainly looking to have a driver interview. I think we've got Michael Gray in the waiting for interview channel, so we'll bring him in, and I'll get Wayhan to have a chat to see how his race went.
With pleasure. With pleasure. Hi, would appear that the bear among men. Let me just have a look for your name over here. Do apologize. Which name over here in the iRacing server?
Michael, Michael Gray P3 in the D piece.
All right. Okay, I just noticed. Sorry about that. Yeah. Congratulations on coming home third overall and in the DP class tonight here at Road America. Now, please share with us how the race went from your perspective, understanding that it was quite eventful, and also considering the fact that for I think the first time in a while, we've on Tuesday afternoons we've had quite a fair representation of all three classes.
I can just tell you that this was my first race back in the DP for some time. Well, because I've never driven it all that much, but it was absolutely insane. I joined a fellow person who decided to do it just as a joke, and managed to get P3 after an insane race. I feel I could have had P2, but at the end of the race there, I made a massive mistake by getting on the grass in turn one and just losing it. But whew, it was just so much fun.
I could definitely tell. I could definitely tell. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, because I think in various parts of the field we've also had quite a lot of good racing action to take place. Of course, great to hear that you had your share of excellent racing as well. So next week we would head to, I believe, what is Daytona circuit. So I think over at Daytona next week, I think that there will be some similarities to this place in the sense that that there are lots of straight line drafting, overtaking opportunities, and relatively high and some mid speed corners to make moves. So what would your thoughts be entering the race next week?
Um, my thoughts would be just take it easy, especially in turn one where you're just braking and turning at the exact same time, and just survive for the first couple of laps. And everyone will be using this for practice for the 24 hours of Daytona. I feel like it's just going to be an absolute fun race in my books.
Oh, absolutely right. I'm gonna hand you over to Scott if Scott has anything that he'd like
No,
to
I
add.
think that's pretty much covered it. But I think I may have seen yourself and Michael sign up for the Majors 2.4 race. Are you likely to participate in that race over the course of this weekend, leading up into the Daytona 24?
Unsure. I haven't seen anything about it, but I'll probably keep my eyes on it if I'm not busy. But I would probably do it if
Yeah,
I
I
had.
think there's yeah, if you're able to sign up for that one, I'll certainly look forward to your company then. Given the fact that I'm competing in that one, but certainly uh, wishing you all the best for next week if you're uh, able to show up for next week. But just before I let you go, Michael, is there any sponsors or shout outs that you'd like to give before we let you go?
Yeah, I would like to shout out my mate who got me to sign up for this race. Vibration Rage on Twitch, and I would just like to shout out the boys in the Royal Fire Service down here in Australia for doing what they can to keep these fires from getting absolutely insane. So those are all I just like to thank.
Yeah, certainly our hearts and thoughts go out to all the people that are fighting the fires in Australia, and certainly our huge thanks go to all of the volunteers that are helping putting out the fires as well. So great uh, to see that pretty much the whole world has come together in terms of this the tragedy. But certainly looking forward to your company next week, Michael, and we wish you all the best for the week ahead.
Thank you, boys. You have a good one. Thank you, boys. You have a good one.
So that was Michael Gray, our third position driver in the Daytona prototype class. Sadly, I don't think we have any more drivers in the waiting for interview channel, so that will be our final interview for today. But turning our attention to next week, Wayhan, as you say, Daytona International Speedway, leading up into the Daytona 24. As you mentioned, it's going to be a track that is certainly a very, very high speed in terms of out of the, I think it's the turn 6 section that leads onto the banking, but certainly going to be a race of attrition heading into next week.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would look forward to racing over at Daytona. In fact, I would be also doing the 24 hours with a community that I'm part of. We're gonna run over there. That would be next week. And yeah, I think the main difference would just be that perhaps the variety of corners would be less. The focus would be more on how well you exit the two crucial corners. One being like you just mentioned, the exit that leads you right to the banking, and also the exit of the bus stop chicane, because both corners would determine kind of your trajectory as you take on the respective long stretches that would come right ahead.
Yeah,
Not to mention slipstreaming, a lot of slipstreaming that we were gonna enjoy
yeah. So
perhaps.
there's also, as you mentioned, the bus stop as well. You got to watch out for the 1x corner penalty as well. It can be quite deadly as well. With the 17 incident limit that we have in the IMSA Sportscar Championship before you get I think it's a pit lane penalty with its a pit stop and hold. So it certainly doesn't kick you out for reaching the 17 incident limit, but once you hit that for a second time, I think it's 25 incidents. It will then disqualify you from that race as well. So certainly a track that you, certainly a section of the track that you want to attack to the maximum, but certainly got to watch out for the corner cut, and also the slowdown penalty can be quite taxing on a potential result for the drivers in uh, next week's round number 6 of the iRacing IMSA Sportscar Championship. Uh, just anything else before we wrap up, Wayhan, uh, from today's race?
Yeah, well, I think despite I guess the crazy nature of today's race, I think even the drivers they've had quite some moments of drama. I think mostly with internet connection. I think drivers, the broadcasting alike, we've all had a little bit of drama. But I think perhaps in my mind now, my thoughts are just with the fires over in Australia as well. I have my thoughts with them. Also, I wish them I guess the best in all the recovery efforts and such.
Yeah, absolutely, certainly. My sentiment as well. Wishing all of the affected victims a safe recovery. Certainly been devastating over the fire season this summer in all across Australia, and hearing reports as well that some of the smoke that has bellowed off the Australian coast has hit New Zealand and potentially the South Americas as well. So to all those affected, certainly our thoughts and prayers go out to those affected. But certainly looking forward to your company coming up on Apex Racing TV later on tonight, we have. Just let me bring up the schedule quickly. We have the IMSA Sportscar Championship. I think that was on earlier this morning. So the next Apex Racing TV broadcast that we have is the official iRacing IndyCar series. That'll be for week number 5 at Mid-Ohio. That'll be on Friday night at 20 GMT. And then the ARL American GT series for round number 6 at Sebring. That'll be on, I think that's Sunday, 20 GMT as well. And also on the iRacing Esports Network as well, we have the AMF GT series on the iRacing Esports Network, as mentioned. That'll be on at 9:45 AM GMT. So certainly be looking forward to your company then. But I think that will pretty much wrap it up for the 5th round of the iRacing IMSA Sportscar Championship. So on behalf of Wei-Han Chan and myself, Scott Newton, I'm certainly wishing you all the best for the week ahead, and certainly looking forward to your company in a future Apex Racing TV broadcast.